Most PC gamers use a mechanical keyboard already, but I don't think many are aware of how deep the rabbit hole really goes. There is a very niche but passionate community that are into building their own custom keyboards. Building your own board definitely has some added benefits and is way more satisfying than buying a pre-built board. Some are pretty normal looking, some have very strange layouts, and some are made out of very expensive and nice material. There is way more to it than they look cool and they cost money. Like I said, it's a very niche hobby, but it's one that we think might really break into the gaming community very soon, all because of one switch. So what exactly is the deal with mechanical keyboards? Well, we've all had a Razer Black Widow with those loud clicky switches at some point, right? Well, there's more to it than that. Technically, most keyboards that aren't a membrane board are technically mechanical boards. Even the old terminal boards from back in the day are mostly mechanical. I mean, look at the IBM Model M. Those were produced back in 1985, and they're essentially mechanical keyboards. Each key has a spring that contracts and snaps back with each key press. Yes, technically they are a membrane board, but they don't all use rubber domes. Honestly, the Model M is just a bit of an anomaly and kind of in its own category. Not every mechanical keyboard is loud. There's a wide variety of switch types out there. Linear, clicky, tactile, and not every type is loud. Linear switches are very smooth to the point of barely even feeling the key press, making them really good for gaming. Tactile switches have a bit of a bump in the middle of it, and clicky switches are loud. There are different weights too, which can be modified with different springs. Some people preferring heavier switches while some prefer light switches, especially when gaming. So if you're a hardcore FPS player, you'd probably want to use linear switches. Going with linear gives you a better response time, which might give you a bit of an advantage. There are members of the community that actually lube their switches too. You'd actually rip apart each switch and lube every individual moving piece to get a better feeling out of it. And it's not just about feel, it's about sound. You can pair these switches with a nice aluminum case, a steel plate, maybe there's a brass weight in the case. Each pairing has a different unique sound. And there are legitimately satisfying ASMR videos out there of someone just typing away on a really nice board that they built. There's a lot that goes into building a board. Feel and sound are very important. It isn't just about looks, but that is very important, and we'll get to that part in a second. The act of building a board is probably where most PC gamers will really be interested. You know how you build your PC and it's your PC, you built it, you know it in and out, and you created it. The same goes for building a board. You're the one soldering those switches to the PCB and throwing it in the case and popping on the keycaps and lubing the switches and even sometimes programming it. It's your keyboard, you made it, and there isn't another one like it. Maybe visually, yeah, sure. And they aren't hard to build, yeah, soldering might sound scary, but they make hot swap PCBs that don't require any soldering at all. Besides that, you need a tiny Phillips head, and that's kind of it. You don't need a crazy knowledge of keyboards or circuitry to build one. If you're going the hot swap route, it's pressing keys through a plate into a PCB, along with stabilizers for the spacebar and other bigger keys, screwing that PCB into a case with a screwdriver, then tossing on your keycaps, and you are good to go. Yeah, it's a little more in-depth than that, sure, but that's the general idea. The look, feel, and layout is all custom tailored to you. And maybe you play a lot of games with, different moves and abilities that require a certain combination of keystrokes. If you have a board that's compatible with something like QMK, which is a programming software, you can actually custom program each key to act as a macro. Or if you're like me and edit a lot of video, you might want a board that has even less going on. I use an OLKB Prionic board, which is a smaller layout ortholinear board, and it has everything I need to edit and type and nothing else. Maybe you don't need a number pad or a row of function keys. Maybe you don't even need arrow keys. Maybe you want your board to only have the keys and functions that you absolutely need. Maybe you want it as bare bones as possible. Then there's the cool factor, which is big in PC gaming. There are a lot of people with really cool, crazy PC builds that visually look insane, and they'll have matching RGB, a matching mouse, this whole color scheme that even sometimes extends beyond the PC and into their actual desk and chair and room. Customizable keyboard can be an extension of that. If you have a Vaporwave 80s theme setup with a lot of purple and neon pink, you can get a purple keyboard case and get a set of GMK lasers to throw on it and make it match your PC build and the rest of your setup. And I know that there are people out there with very specific specific desks or battle stations, if you want to call them that, where everything serves a very specific purpose. You can build a keyboard that is highly specific that you can add into your setup. Maybe you solder a rotary encoder onto your board and use it for a volume knob or to scroll through your timeline in Adobe Premiere. There really are endless options. There are a ton of different cases, switches, and keycaps. You can get a set of Hyperlight Drifter keycaps, Diablo keycaps. I've seen Counter-Strike and Star Wars themed ones. There was a group buy for Animal Crossing keycaps a few months ago, actually. There is a set of keycaps out there for literally everybody. So whether you're a streamer looking to customize their setup or a gamer that just wants a unique one-of-a-kind peripheral, there's something here for you. Mechanical keyboards have always been a very community-driven hobby as well. There isn't a ton of money to be made in it at the moment. Most switches, boards, cases, and even keycaps are all done in smaller, limited runs. A lot of the time, it's a group buy that runs just a few weeks, that's set up by a few members of the community that have a cool idea for caps or maybe even a board, and they'll collect payments from people, close the group buy, and produce the exact amount of units that were ordered. And then you'll most likely never see that for sale again, unless you get it on the aftermarket, which there is a huge aftermarket for mech boards. And that specifically is what makes the Holy Panda switches being made by Glorious PC Gaming Race so interesting. First off, the Holy Pandas are considered to be like the tactile switch, and not many people would disagree. Before Mass Drop, or now known as Drop, sold them, they weren't really a switch that you could just buy. They were more of a Franken switch. You take the housing from a Panda switch and the stem from a Halo switch and then combine them and boom, you have a Holy Panda. Something about this combo just worked. And because you can't just, go out and buy them, they're expensive on the aftermarket. There was a point where they were so expensive that it was like buying gold. It was almost like an investment opportunity. According to Glorious themselves, they were selling for $6 a switch. So if you want to fill up a 60% board, which uses 61 switches, you're looking at $366 just on switches. That is totally insane. And even more insane, Glorious is making these switches available all the time, not through group buy, not through a limited time release, but available all the time. So anyone, whenever they want, can just order them and build themselves a keyboard. And thankfully, they won't be $6 a switch. They're charging $25 for a pack of 36. So it'll be more like $50 to fill an entire 60% board. And yeah, sure, Glorious isn't as big as Logitech or Razer, but they are known mostly for offering a very affordable and very good alternative to the Final Mouse, the Model O. People love that thing. They're definitely a household name in the PC gaming community, and they offer keyboards, their own keycaps, and soon their own take on the Holy Panda. And they even said they're going to be offering their own Switch lube. So is it only a matter of time before this very niche hobby blows up, at least in the PC gaming community? Honestly, I think there's a very good chance. You have YouTubers like Marquez Brownlee, Linus Tech Tips, and Sarah Dici talking about mech boards. You have Taeha Types, who I think is getting bigger and bigger every day, and now you have Glorious, a company that makes PC gaming accessories, taking a very big switch from a very small niche community and taking their own swing at it and mass producing them. And yeah, custom keyboards leak into the PC gaming community here and there, sure, but it's very much its own thing, but maybe not for long. As always though, we want to hear from you, so meet us down in the comments and let us know what you think. As I'm sure you already know, hitting that like button really helps us out, and if you're new here, subscribing is a good idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. I'm Andrew, and we really appreciate you taking the time to stop by and hang out with us, and I'll see you next time, right here on Game Ranks.